Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Rick Berube here for another Facebook Live. Today, we are very fortunate to have the number 89. All right. See, I remembered. Number 89. And also, you were the Women's Council president last year, too, Susan, weren't you?
I was, yeah, for the Scottsdale local network.
So let me tell them your whole name Susan VanHooser. So, everybody, welcome to the show. Thank you. We got to have the studio audience go crazy for you, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Hello. All right, Susan. Well, you know what? It's been a pleasure working with you ever since you've been with the company. But tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how long you've been doing this, maybe even a little bit about Women's Council. I'll tell you my story about Women's Council after you're done.
Oh, absolutely. So I first moved out here into Phoenix in 2001, and I started working for a builder. And that builder was Continental Homes, which turned into D.R. Horton, and I was in their marketing team. The manager overheard me on a phone call with this irate person who was just so ticked off at our company for putting a sign on his land. And we weren't the only company. There were probably 10 different builders that had signs on this man's land. And I was the only person who actually listened to him and felt bad for him and created a solution. So he ended up signing a document that allowed only us to put our sign on that land and no other builders. And he didn't charge us. And that was all because of me, which was, it was actually because I listened. So
Right.
my boss called me into his office and said, "Hey, I think you have more in you than just marketing. It's like, I think that you're really great with people." And that's pretty much what sales is. So I got my license. And when I finally got my own community, it was like I worked like all over the valley for the first year and got to meet all sorts of different people in different neighborhoods, but only got to see them once because I traveled around. So when I got my own neighborhood, that's when you get the sense of community. That's when you can really build relationships. And I fell in love with that. But what I really fell in love with wasn't necessarily the new homes, but it was those relationships. And when I was in new homes, yes, people would come to me and they might connect with me and we might hit it off wonderfully. But if they don't like one of the houses that I'm offering, or I don't have the price point that they can afford, then ultimately they're going to walk out the door and I wouldn't be able to help them. So being a resale agent, it puts a lot more, I'm just able to help a lot more people in broader ways, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. No, so you've been using those skills on listening when you listen to people and help them get what they want, or in this case, you started with somebody complaining and you just listen to them. You kind of first off you disarm them when they're complaining and you just listen to them and you actually care what
Right.
they have to say, right? Especially
Right.
right today's buyers and sellers when you listen to what they're looking for. Which let's face it, Susan, not common in today's sales world, is it?
No, not at all. And that's why I didn't know that sales would have been a good fit for me because that's wasn't I always had a negative connotation when it came to sales. And so I've definitely overcome that because it's definitely not who I am, but it is at the same time because building relationships, listening, solving problems, that's kind of what it is about.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that a lot too because I do the sales training, as you know, and I hear people say, I
Mhm.
don't want to be too salesy. And I think what they're saying is they don't want to come across slimy, like, what's it going to take to put you
Right.
into this house today, right?
Exactly.
And
Right.
that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, let me listen. What are you looking for? See if we have a fit, help them with that fit, or if it's in the resale market, and that's what selling is today, listening, solving problems, and so forth.
Yeah.
It's not about being slimy, although there is a sales part to it where you have to go out and create your own business, right?
Right. And that was one thing that entering into the resale world, I was warned about by a lot of different people that it's totally different. They're
Mm.
not coming to you, you're going to them. And a lot of people, I was told, who go in from new home sales into resale don't make it. And so I was kind of going into it thinking, I'm going to make it. Like, I'm just going to make sure I make it. One misconception that people have about new home sales is that you get to go and sit in a model and it's nice and beautiful and people come to you and you sell all of these options and you know exactly what you're selling. I stepped into a completely different situation at my final company. Um, and they didn't have models, they didn't have floor plans, they didn't have pricing, they didn't have options. I had lots, I had a smile, I had a community, and they finally built me some models. And my models were not well received by the community. So they tore my models down. And I'm just going to show this picture because it cracks me up. This is what my model complex was
Wow.
for, yeah, for about a year or so. That was my model complex. And I still didn't have pricing, but I know the builder and I know I'm like, if we can tear apart these models to make them right because the community doesn't like them, that's a builder that I want to work for, and that they're
Right.
going to listen to us and make them right. So whenever I would take people out, they would bring their family and friends in, and we would tour the what we could of the models, and we would sit down and have a long conversation. We would tour the home sites, and then they'd bring their friends back, and we would do the same thing over and over again. So I know so many people in that community, and that's what it's all about, is kind of building that area where people connect and you attract your tribe, your vibe attracts your tribe, I guess.
I love that. No, that's a good saying. I love it. No, it's so true. And then they all knew that you'd go to bat for them because of you just had the builder go in and change all the models for them, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was also I was able to let them know, if you can trust me, you can trust the builder. Like, we're not gonna, everything was like contingent upon the financing, contingent upon them finding the right house. And I only had, oh, so this is a kind of cool thing. They originally hired me after I left the new home industry after my first child was like one. It was just too hard to maintain everything. When I went back in, I had two. So I had a 9 month or a 6 month old and a 4.5 year old. So it was kind of crazy timing. But I told him, yeah, I can do it. He's like, we only want you to sell like 17 houses the year. Like, that's all we need. And I'm like, that's it? Like, okay. I sold 90, 90. So yeah. And they were like, what? And it was all on like, well, yes, but this is subject to you approving the layout of the house. This is subject to knowing what the price is going to be. This is all subject to, and I only lost like 3 sales out of all of that, but I was able to resell them. But it's just building that trust, listening, and be able to communicate what the builder's able to do for them and what the houses are. I don't know. I guess it's just kind of like down to the communication.
Yeah, it is, and that's exactly what it is. What you just said, it's all about communication, getting them what they want, and so forth.
Right.
And let's face it, in today's world, I mean, I've been around. I've been doing this for 37 years. I've been around since the crazy craze crash of the late 80s, early 90s, and then 2006, 7, and 8. And builders have not gone out anywhere near as far. It's one of the reasons why we have, the inventory crunch that we have right now. So to be able to sell them, without even a model and line everybody up, which is the new way to do new construction today. The fact that you were that far out, congratulations.
Thank you.
They probably want you back, right?
Yeah, it was sad when I left, but I sold out my community. They thought I would be there for 7 years, and I sold out a lot quicker. And then I got promoted to management. So did that for a little while.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
And now you're in complete resale. So tell us about the transition. Like, what was that like?
It was great because I keep in contact with all of my sellers, or my home seller, my home buyers from new homes. So I kept in contact with them, and I had 2 listings before I actually even left new homes. So like once I left, I already had 2 that were going to go live like in a month. So I had that. That that was that was one of the reasons I was able to step away so easily, is because I already had that little niche.
Right.
Um, so my community that I like to market, I call it my little peanut because it's shaped like a peanut.
Uh,
And there's 1,100 homes in there, and those are the ones that I sold out. And the transition was hard because if you're not, I'm selling everything and I'm only mostly used to new homes. So finding a different neighborhood and community and floor plan is challenging but exciting. And being able to sell their home, of course, is amazing because I remember the whole process. I can practically tell them how the build process went and how long it was and all the options that they selected. So
That's
reselling it is pretty cool.
You might recognize this name too. Tiffany Beard says Susan is a rock star. We're getting comments. You may recognize that name.
Thanks, Tiffany. I do. I do. That is my lovely, amazing manager at our Goodyear
Yes,
office. She
she's
is the
great.
best.
I'm going to tell you something. As a person who I built a couple, and I had partners, but new construction, over 55 communities. For them to like you, just from the under contract to the
Yeah.
closing in new construction, is a feat. But then after years, for you to be working that neighborhood as your farm and doing business says a lot about you, honestly. So congratulations. That's
Thank
incredible.
you. So I'm hosting my first event out there at that particular neighborhood in their clubhouse. So it's a casino night, and I'm really excited to really
Wow.
kind of immerse myself into the community even more like I was before.
No, and I'm just guessing that's why you were in Vegas over the weekend, a little research and development for
Oh,
your.
absolutely. It was
Yeah,
strictly research.
I can see. I can see the true professional that you are. That would be something that would be necessary.
Yes.
Good job. I love it. All right. So, all right. My favorite question, right, is I love to ask rock stars like yourself. Okay, let's finish with just to put in perspective. To finish 89th in our company with 1,100 agents in Arizona, which we have some really top producers, is incredible. So, congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
before we do that, though, is there anything you want to mention about your time as president of Women's Council? Because I
Oh,
think that's
absolutely. So I wanted to say too, along with being number 89 in Berkshire Hathaway, I was also president of Women's Council Scottsdale area, and we were able to double our membership in my year of presidency, which was really awesome. I have an entirely uh, board that helped with all of that, and of course, crazy, amazing members. But yeah, just the camaraderie that you have with Women's Council, meeting the people, it's like a family where they want you to be better, they want to push you to be better. And it's an extra avenue outside of your brokerage. It's not brokerage lines. It's truly incredible. I was able to go to national conventions my first year when I was in Women's Council, and I was on the board, and they actually paid for my way to go, and it was so educational. I learned so much, and I was able to travel with these women and meet people from other states. It was absolutely, I mean, I hate to be cliche and say like life changing, but it kind of was. It opened my eyes to what else real estate can be. It's so much
mm,
more than just what we have here.
yeah. Well, we have my little event coming up with Women's Council is on April 30th at the South
Uh-huh.
Point Casino. You know Bobby Dust? She's the
Of course I know Bobby Dust.
okay. So Bobby Dust called me. How could I say no? And said, we want you to do an opening, like 45 minute to an hour rock and roll. And I said, are you sure? I only do like classic rock. I don't do. She said, absolutely. We want you to open for an hour. So I got all. So I'm going to do that on the 30th at South Point. It should be interesting. But
That's
I will tell you,
awesome.
I've brought Tina several times to the Women's Council event,
Yeah.
and it is a tight knit, really classy, extremely always well done, organized
Yes.
to the max event every
Yes.
time I go. So it's really really awesome to be part of. I can only
Yes.
imagine.
We had our big celebration we had last year was called our Top Women.
Yep.
We're the only organization in Arizona that honors the women in like the Scottsdale area. And we're talking like billions and billions of dollars in production
Mm,
that these women do. And just being able to recognize them and kind of give them the kudos that they deserve and provide an opportunity for them to dress up and get an
yeah.
award. yeah, we were able to provide that for him, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was absolutely, we do it right whenever we have an event, that's for
It's,
sure.
it's so true. It's great. I love to see it too. All right. Awesome. Well, congrats. And so, and I'm sure you're still involved, and even as the outgoing, you still have a lot of events.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I am still highly involved, and I also do a lot in the West Valley as well. Since that's where my brokerage is, just makes sense.
Good. And this year you'll have even more, even though Women's Council, like you said, is a great experience, it'll allow you a little bit more time because that's a commitment time wise to be the
It is
president.
a huge commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
is a huge time commitment. So
well, good for you. Okay. So now someone as busy, awesome, rock star as yourself, as Tiffany said, tell us your top 3 points to be really good in this business. Now, you've already kind of said a whole bunch of them, but give them to us in order, please. So I can do, my social media campaign that I'm going to do this weekend.
yeah, okay, I would say use your CRM immediately.
Right.
It's just that simple. Um, I didn't for a long time, and looking back on it, because I had everything in my phone, I had everything in my brain because I know my clients and I know my clients' family members and all of that. But put that into your CRM and let the CRM work for you. You're
Great.
working too hard if you just keep it in your brain. So that's definitely number one. Um, Interview and find a brokerage that you connect with that offers what you want, that you are aligned with. Sit in on meetings, meet other agents in the office, feel the vibe, see if you're going to fit there and if that's going to help you thrive or not. And don't settle for a place where you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I could plant and grow here.
Mm,
And then my third one would be get a coach. Just get a coach or get a someone that keeps you accountable, and you don't have to pay a lot of money for it. You might even be able to find someone in your organization or through like a women's council or through your brokerage, but just make yourself accountable. Get yourself a coach, someone who's been in the industry, and listen to what they say.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, the CRM, and unfortunately here at Berkshire Hathaway, we have the VAC 2.0, which is pretty rock star.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. And that's what I mean too, like interviewing your brokerages and find out what they offer you. Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think anyone who would interview with Berkshire Hathaway would be like, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I was.
Well, and I agree with you 100%, except the person that says, well, I'm going to do 6 deals here and 6 deals there. And I'm like, well, if you want to start a business, like, repeatable business where you have, auto stuff going out, incredible, then you want to join us. But if you're going to just nickel and dime
Example.
transactions, some people go
Yeah.
to, the 100%ers, but that's, once you said, it all depends on what you're looking for. I agree 100%. Like
Right.
you said, you got to feel the vibe to see if you want to be part of the tribe
Absolutely.
and thrive. I should be a rapper, Paul. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right. Awesome, Susan. Those are all incredible, wonderful things. Anything else you want to share with us today that you think would be valuable to these wonderful people out there?
No, nothing that I can really think of. Just keep in contact with your sphere. Keep in contact with, if you're doing a farm, stay consistent.
Yeah. And you have a good sized farm. Now, other than your one peanut farm, do you have another one, or is that pretty much the one you stay focused on?
That's the one I stay focused on.
That's a
However,
big one, too.
yeah, but I also consider myself an active adult specialist from being in the active adult arena for so long. So I do know a lot about the other communities as well.
Right. Active adult. Isn't it funny, the whole story behind that? Yes. It's the only discrimination allowed by the U.S. government, age discrimination. Right. So, but it's such a great place. But the people think that over 55 is, that most people are in there at 55. They're not. They're like 70. The average age is around 70. So it's really cool. And like you said, it's a great place to work, and having that designation is critical. Now, just one more question. What percentage of your business would you say comes from your farm, that big 1,100 home farm that you work?
90% of it.
I was going to say, okay. And then because of your time in the business, more and more. So it's almost like your sphere and your farm are one.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
cool.
So I was looking, I've had 6 closings so far this year, and they've all generated from my farm.
That's awesome. and they all talk you up. Do you go physically walking through it? Is that how you do it? Door knocking and bringing brochures and things,
I
or
do.
call?
I do that. I connect with them on Facebook. Sometimes I'll call or text. I'll swing by. Um, and when I have listings, I'll send out flyers. I'm also in their newsletter. They do a
Wow,
bi-monthly newsletter. So I have a full page in there.
nice.
And yeah, and I have every door direct mail going out on a monthly basis as well.
Wow. So that's like you have a net cast over that farm.
I do.
And that's a
Yeah.
good lesson for everybody too. That if you want to have a farm, you really got to be like cast a net.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I also partner up with the golf course out there, and have hosted an event. Not hosted, I'm sorry. I sponsored a golf tournament for Veterans Day out there at Sundance this past November, and then the casino night coming up. So it's also just kind of offering the community fun things to do and getting to know people and having them they trust me with their family members and people who move to town, and usually we have a fun time in the process of buying and selling as well.
No, that's really obvious, especially with the return you're getting on investment there. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Susan, well, I just want to say thank you very much for taking a half an hour time out of your time. I know you're busy. I really appreciate it.
Thank
This was
you.
really educational. All right, you're a true professional. All right, look forward to working with you in the
Appreciate it.
future, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye, Susan.
you.
See ya.
Bye.